Hey, what's up, Space? This is a quick demo video for you for your Vader's Vault NN14 blaster. This is installed with a Proffie. I started out with the panel off so that I could show you the internals. It does take a little bit to put it on. It takes 4 screws. I've got this one screw up here. I kind of keep this on because 2 screws hold the barrel in. You've got this one over here, that's a long guy, and then this one over here that's long as well, and those 2 go into the barrel and hold it in place. So even when you take this panel off to access your board, it's a good idea to kind of throw that one back in there while you're fiddling around, and then, of course, put the panel on. But you've got a Proffie V3 in here. This is running the Kyberphonic Fonts NN14 Blaster font, so you'll find that here on your SD card, and then a copy of your config as well. If you need some help, just let me know in the future to set that up. I'm happy to help you. You've got a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost Elite speaker here. You've got a 9-pixel accent strip right here. I think this is 9 pixel accent strip right here that I just kind of put in here to have something, or have some blinkies, when you have the panel off. You've got a recharge port right here. So you just unscrew this guy to get to your recharge port, and then screw this back on, obviously, when you're not using it. Of the 3 or so that I've done so far, yours is the first one that actually threaded into this piece with no issue. So that's not JB welded, it's just threaded in place with that lock nut on there, and then of course I screwed this on in front, so you will want to leave that nut on there. Okay. You've got your auxiliary switch I put back here. This is something that I did for Joe because he was going to put this into a holster, so I went ahead and I put this back here. Very easy to tap when you're shooting the trigger right here. You can just reach up with your finger and tap your auxiliary switch, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second. One thing that's very unique with this guy is that you had asked me to put a laser in it. So when you first reached out to me and said, hey, can you incorporate a laser into this guy? I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that, but it sounds like a really cool idea. And then you said, well, just reach out to me if you figure it out, right? So I gave it about 30 minutes or so of thinking about it, and then I said, hey, I think I can do that. So you have a laser pointer in here. All right, so you can see that right there. What I did with this guy, because eventually you will need to change the batteries in it, it's ran separately. It looks like this. This is a very crude mock-up of one that I purchased first just to see if I could do it. This is kind of a laser pointer and flashlight combo. It had 2 tactile switches. I went ahead and I got rid of the one for the flashlight. I ran this back. This is the tactile for the laser. And as you can see, hopefully you can see that going on in there. That's when I knew that I could do it. So that's what I did there. It's a better version of this. The wires are longer. What you'll notice is when you open up this panel back here, this is where all your wiring is at. I left a lot of slack in the wiring, and I coiled it up right here underneath this panel, so that if you ever need to change the batteries, which you will in the future, just come over here, you unscrew this guy. So we'll take this off real quick. You simply come in here with a pair of tweezers or something, and you grab the end of that and pull it out. Now I made that holder, I 3D printed that holder in there just snug enough to where it fits in there, but it's not too tight to go in there and pull it out. When you pull it out, you'll kind of want to take your wire slack and feed it forward. You can pull that guy out all the way. As you can see, there's a gap underneath my holder so that you can coil those wires back as you push it back in. It's very easy to do. All right, but in the future, when you do have to eventually change the wires, you'll pull this out of the barrel. You'll come back here and you'll unscrew the back. All right. You'll unscrew the back. You'll see your 3 batteries, and there's 3 of them that look like this. Okay, they're very small batteries here, so when you ever have to change those batteries, it's very easy to do. So you'll change those, screw the backing back on, and then slide this back into place. There's plenty of wire for your slack, and then You can also kind of pull your slack and recoil it back here. You shouldn't have to do that very often. All right. And then once you're done, slide that back into place. Take the end of your barrel and then just screw it back on. I will send you the extra piece that goes in there. It looks like this. This is for the heat sink or what have you. I didn't use it. The hole in the middle was too small to let the laser out, and I didn't want to modify it. This is threaded, just threaded aluminum. I didn't want to chuck that up and ruin the threads, so I just opted not to use that. All right, so we'll put that off to the side. There are two tactile switches underneath this plate. One tactile switch runs the board. The secondary tactile switch runs the laser. So even when the saber's off, it still shoots a laser. All right. It took a lot for me to go in here and adjust these accordingly because I've got the tactile switch that runs your blinkies or the board. You've got a 10 pixel strip right here. And you've got another 10 pixel strip right here, so we can light these up, right? I made that go off right before the laser so that you would get some barrel animation before you get the laser shooting out. I didn't want the laser going off first, and I didn't want them going off at the same time. So it is a bit of an animation there. And if you're very light on this trigger that I'll show you here in a second, you can actually make the barrel shoot and not have the laser shoot, if that makes sense, right? But if you do a firm press, you'll get barrel animation, and then like a millisecond after that, you'll get the laser coming out of the barrel. So I tried to go as realistic to blaster fire as I possibly could there. All right. So what I'm going to do now, well, actually, I'll show you the blinkies first. This is your kill switch right here, your hammer. So what you want to do is come over here and push it down to turn it on. So you've got your animation right there. Now I will incorporate a small video into this demo showing the laser shooting through some smoke, but for now you can see it on my hand. I've gone through the 20 shots, which I've set this up for 20 shots before it needs to be reloaded, and then it makes this sound. You just come over here and tap your auxiliary. Now it's reloaded, right? So see it fired on my hand. Now if I squeeze the trigger very lightly, I'll make this go off, but you won't have a laser. See that? Now if I squeeze it hard, you'll see it on my hand. Just like that. All right, so now when you want to turn this off, you'll come up here, flip this up, and it kills everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to put the panel onto this guy, and we'll go over just some functionality. All right, I'll be right back. So I got your panel back on. Now, I mentioned earlier that I didn't have any problems threading in your recharge port, so that was good. But I did have some other fitment issues on this guy, okay? First being this corner, this upper corner nearest the back of the panel that covers your Proffie board did not line up with the insert for this screw. So, I mean, it was very off. So this screw does not unscrew, right? I cut that off right at the bolt, and I glued in that head. So when you want to take off this panel, you unscrew this one, and this one, and this thing will come off. Do not take this one out. It's not really holding anything in, but the other three hold it in very tightly. That's one thing I had to do. I did do some Dremel work, which is pretty, it's pretty standard for this hammer to move. So I Dremeled that a bit. The big thing on this guy was this plate right here, though. This entire side plate, that's covered up with this grip a little bit, but there's an entire side plate that goes onto here before this main housing slides on. All of the holes for this were misaligned. So I went through, opened them up on my mill so that I could put the screws in. You got these three main screws here, here, and here. So I could put those in, and then also some screws that you can't see now because this housing is covering it up. All right. So that was interesting to do, but there was that plate right there, and then there was this upper corner of the blaster, but everything else was fine. All right. But when you get everything all locked in, Come back over here and turn it on. Whoops, let me get my hand in the frame. I will insert the video now of the laser shooting through the smoke so that you can kind of see what it looks like. I had to take one of our incense burners and just put all the smoke inside my photo booth, and that's how I got that. All right, but when you're done here, we'll go through the 20 rounds. It'll sound like that. If you're right-handed, you know, it'll sound like this. Just come over here and reload it by pressing this. And then you're good to go again. If you had more than one font on here, you would just do a long press and it would go to the next preset, but you only have the Kyberphonic fonts and then 14 on here for now. All right. And then when you're done, just come back over here and flip this up. And now it's off. All right. But that is basically your blaster. Let me know if you have any questions. And if not, I will get this out in the mail to you later today. Thanks, man.